The Justice Department recently made a decision that reverberated across America. They lifted a school desegregation order in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. This order had been in place since 1966. Its purpose? To dismantle a system where schools were segregated by race. This decision raises serious questions. Is America truly past its history of segregation? Or are we simply pretending it doesn't exist anymore? These orders weren't just suggestions. They were legal necessities. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 declared segregation in schools unlawful. This landmark act paved the way for these orders. They aimed to correct decades of injustice. Black students were routinely denied access to equal education. These orders aimed to change that. They mandated that schools integrate. They had to ensure black and white students had equal opportunities. The Justice Department, however, argues that this order is outdated. They claim Plaquemines Parish integrated its schools back in 1975. They see this order as a relic of the past, a burden on the school district. They point to the fact that the judge overseeing the case passed away. Crucially, records related to the case were lost. This situation, they argue, highlights the need for a clean slate. Plaquemines Parish Superintendent Shelley Ritz agrees. She found the Justice Department's annual visits and data requests to be excessive. Ritz argues that the paperwork was burdensome. She believes the order was no longer necessary. The district, she claims, has moved past its segregated past. But is that truly the case, or are we ignoring uncomfortable truths lurking beneath the surface? Civil rights activists are deeply concerned about this decision. They argue that lifting this order is premature. They say many schools still show signs of segregation. Some even argue that segregation is worse now than in 1954. This was the year of the landmark Brown v. Board of Education ruling. This Supreme Court decision declared school segregation unconstitutional. Activists point out that the lack of enforcement doesn't equal a lack of problems. They argue that these orders are essential tools. They help hold schools accountable for ensuring equal opportunities for all students. Without them, they fear that segregation will continue to fester, harming generations to come. This case has sparked a wider debate. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill has called for the closure of other school desegregation orders in the state. This is part of a larger trend. The Trump administration has made it clear they view these orders as federal overreach. They want to withdraw from as many as possible. They argue local communities are better equipped to handle these issues. However, critics argue this is a dangerous path. They believe this hands-off approach will only exacerbate existing inequalities. They point to research showing that districts released from these orders often see increased racial segregation. This raises serious questions about the commitment to achieving true equality in education. The situation in Plaquemines Parish is not unique. Over 130 school systems across the country are still under similar desegregation orders. Most of these systems are in the South, in states like Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. These orders often include specific provisions. These can be anything from busing requirements to transfer policies. All are designed to prevent segregation and promote integration. The NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund has been instrumental in invoking these orders. They used a consent decree in Alabama in 2020 to address discriminatory practices. They took similar action in Louisiana in 2024. This highlights the ongoing need for these orders. They remain a vital tool to address persistent inequalities in education. Opponents of these orders argue that they are no longer necessary. They believe they are a relic of the past. They argue that schools have changed. They claim that diversity is now celebrated. However, critics point to the reality on the ground. They highlight the continued existence of predominantly black and white schools. They argue that true integration goes beyond simply having students of different races share a building. It's about fostering genuine inclusion and equity in every aspect of education. The decision to lift the order in Plaquemines Parish sets a dangerous precedent. It sends a message that equality has been achieved. This is simply not true. By dismantling these legal safeguards, we risk returning to a time when education was separate and unequal. This is not progress. It's a step backward. The debate over school desegregation orders goes beyond legal technicalities. It strikes at the heart of America's ongoing struggle with racial inequality. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our past and present. It raises questions about our commitment to building a just and equitable society for all. Lifting these orders without addressing the root causes of segregation is like putting a band-aid on a gaping wound. It may conceal the problem temporarily, but it does nothing to heal the underlying injury. We need to ask ourselves, are we truly committed to providing every child, regardless of their race, with an equal opportunity to succeed? The fight for educational equity is far from over. It requires constant vigilance, unwavering commitment, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. We must remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." Until every child in America has access to that kind of education, our work remains unfinished. We cannot afford to turn back the clock on progress.